The night sky above Earth was calm, stars shining like silver dust scattered across black space, yet far from the planet a signal echoed, a call for help, or maybe a warning. No one knew for sure. A small human exploration ship. The Vanguard drifted toward the signal. Inside the ship stood Captain Elias Ward, a man known for his courage but also his silence. He had fought in battles before. He had seen both victory and loss, yet nothing had prepared him for what he was about to find. "Captain, we've locked on the source," said his navigator. "An abandoned vessel, unknown origin." Elias narrowed his eyes. The reading showed a large alien ship, lifeless, no energy except for one weak pulse, a faint heartbeat in the dark. It was drifting without control near the border of human space. "Prepare boarding," Elias ordered, his voice steady though his heart raced. The boarding team entered the alien vessel. Their boots echoed against the hollow metal floor. The walls were strange, covered in glowing symbols. The air was cold and smelled of something old, something forgotten, weapons ready. They moved carefully, expecting traps or hostile life forms. But silence followed them. The ship was a grave. Corridors empty, machinery broken, shadows thick. Then a sound, soft and fragile, like a child's cry. It froze the team. They looked at Elias. He signaled them to move forward, deeper into the vessel, at the center of the ship. Inside a small chamber they found her, a girl, no older in size than a human child. Skin pale silver, eyes wide and glowing faint blue, her hair long and white as snow. She was curled up in a corner, trembling, thin arms wrapped around her knees when the light from their helmets touched her. She lifted her head slowly, and then she spoke. Her voice broken but clear, in the human tongue. "Call me your daughter." "Human," she whispered. "I want you to be my father." The words struck them like lightning. The soldiers exchanged nervous glances. Some raised their weapons higher. But Elias held up his hand, stopping them. His eyes locked with hers. Confusion mixed with something he could not explain. "How do you know our language?" Elias asked. His tone calm, though his mind shouted questions. The girl tilted her head, tears shining in her glowing eyes. "I learned," she said. "I waited, I prayed. Someone would come." Her small body shook as if she had been alone for a long time. Elias stepped closer, ignoring the warnings from his team. The girl flinched but did not run. She only stared at him, as if she had already chosen him, as if she had known him before this moment. The chamber around them hummed with dying power, lights flickering. The ship was collapsing slowly into silence, yet none of them could move, not after hearing those words. "Captain," one soldier whispered. "It could be a trick. She could be a weapon." Elias did not answer. His gaze stayed on the child. He saw fear, pain, and something else, something deeply human in her expression. "Please," she said again, her voice breaking. "Father, take me with you. Don't leave me here." The silence in the chamber grew heavier. The men did not know what to do. Rules said alien contact must be secured, studied and controlled. But this was different. This was not an enemy ship full of soldiers. This was a child asking for a father. Elias bent down on one knee, lowering himself to her height. His voice softened. "Why me?" he asked. Her small lips trembled. She placed a hand on her chest, then pointed to him. "Because you came," she whispered. "Because I waited for you." The team shifted uncomfortably. Some whispered that it was dangerous. Others looked away, unable to meet her eyes, but Elias could not look away. He felt the weight of her words pressing on him. The ship gave a low groan, metal twisting. They had little time. "Captain, we must go now," shouted the navigator. Elias hesitated. One choice stood before him. Leave her or take her. The girl's small hand reached out toward him, her fingers trembling. "Please, father," she begged, her eyes shining like two stars in the dark. And in that moment, Elias Ward, hardened soldier of Earth, felt something inside him break. Something he thought long buried. He reached forward and took her hand. "Bring her aboard," he ordered, firm and final. The team hesitated, then obeyed. They lifted the child gently. She clung to Elias's arm, her face pressed against him, her eyes closing as if she had finally found safety. As they left the alien vessel, Elias glanced back once. The ship's lights died completely, leaving only silence behind, but in his arms. He carried a secret that would change everything. A child who called him father. A mystery that might bring war. Or perhaps something greater. And deep inside, Elias knew this was only the beginning. The ship Vanguard carried many things in its metal halls, weapons, data, supplies. But now it carried something far stranger. A child from the stars. Elias Ward walked through the corridors with the alien girl at his side. She held his sleeve tightly as if letting go meant falling into darkness again. The crew stared as they passed, whispering, some with fear, some with wonder. No one had ever seen a being like her. Her eyes glowed faint blue. Her hair shimmered under the ship's lights. Yet it was not her strange beauty that unsettled them. It was the way she looked at Elias as if he was her world. As if she had known him her whole life. In the medical bay, doctors scanned her. They spoke in quick voices. Her biology is close to ours, but not the same, one said. Her energy levels are unstable, as if she is starving for something more than food. Another muttered. But when they tried to separate her from Elias, she cried, clinging to him, calling out, "Father, don't leave me." The word echoed through the bay, making every human freeze. The doctors looked at Elias, waiting for his command, but he only sighed and sat beside her bed. His hand resting near hers, she calmed instantly, like a storm quieting at his presence. For days she followed him step by step. Wherever he went, if he ate, she copied him. If he stood tall, she straightened her back. If he spoke, she whispered his words, trying to learn, like a mirror trying to reflect him. The crew grew uneasy. Some called her harmless. Others whispered that she was dangerous. A spy. A weapon in disguise. Elias listened but said nothing, his eyes always on the child, watching her laugh when she learned a word, watching her frown when she failed to understand, watching her curl up at night whispering to herself, "I have a father now, once." In the training deck, she surprised everyone. Soldiers were sparring, moving fast, striking hard. She watched with wide eyes, then suddenly she copied their moves perfectly. Her small body flowing like water, she moved too fast for a child, too precise, as if her mind absorbed every detail. Gasps filled the room. The soldiers stepped back uneasy, but she only turned to Elias. Smiling proudly, "Did I do well, Father?" she asked. Breathless but eager, Elias stared at her. His chest heavy with something he could not name, he nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, "you did well." Her eyes shone at his approval, brighter than any star outside the window. But not everyone was touched. Whispers grew louder. "She's dangerous. She's not a child. She's a threat. She's manipulating him." At night, Elias sat alone in his quarters. The girl asleep in the next room, curled in a blanket far too big for her. He poured himself a drink, staring at the stars outside. His thoughts torn. Was she truly a child, abandoned and desperate for family? Or was she something sent to break him? Yet each time doubt whispered. He remembered the way she had reached for him, the way her voice had cracked when she begged him not to leave. The next morning she surprised him again. She handed him a drawing, rough lines on paper. The ship, the stars, and in the center, two figures holding hands, one tall, one small, written below in shaky human letters. "Father and me." Elias felt his throat tighten. He did not speak. He only placed the drawing on his desk, keeping it safe. As days turned to weeks, the bond deepened. She called him father in front of everyone. And though he never answered as yes, he never denied it either. His silence was its own answer, but shadows still lingered. In the war room high above Earth, leaders argued, "This girl is not a blessing. She is a risk," they said. "What if her people come for her? What if she carries their secrets?" others whispered. "But look at her. She is not like them. She is different." Elias knew the storm was coming. He could feel it in every message sent to his ship, every order wrapped in careful words. They wanted her studied, locked away, maybe even erased one evening. She sat beside him at the viewport, staring at the endless stars, her voice small. "Father, why do people look at me with fear?" Elias turned to her, his jaw tight. "Because they don't understand you," he said. She was silent, then whispered, "Do you understand me?" Elias looked into her glowing eyes. Searching for lies, finding none, he sighed. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I'm trying." She smiled, leaning against his arm. "That's enough," she said, her voice soft but full of faith. And as the stars drifted by, Elias realized something dangerous, something that frightened him more than war. He was beginning to care, truly care, for this alien child who called him father, and he knew sooner or later the world would try to take her away. The Vanguard returned to Earth, its hull scarred by years of travel. But this time it carried something far heavier than metal. It carried a child not of this world, and her presence spread across human space like fire in dry grass. News broke within days, a broadcast repeated again and again. "An alien child has been recovered. She speaks our language. She calls a soldier of Earth her father. Some reports spoke with awe, some with fear, but all of them carried one word: danger. Elias Ward found himself standing in the council chamber, leaders of Earth staring at him from long tables of steel, their eyes sharp, their voices colder than any battlefield. "Captain Ward," one said, his voice echoing, "you brought this creature here without clearance. Do you realize the risk you have taken?" "She's not a creature," Elias answered firmly, his hands clenched. "She's a child." "A child," another scoffed. "Or a weapon. We cannot forget history. Her species once turned their fleets against us. They burned colonies. They left millions dead. And now you ask us to believe this one is innocent." Elias wanted to shout, but his voice stayed calm. "She is not her people. She is different." The council exchanged looks, doubt heavy in their eyes. But outside the chamber, the real storm was already growing. Protests shook the cities. One group held signs saying, "Protect the child," while another shouted, "Send her back." People argued in streets, in schools, even in their homes. And through it all, the girl stayed close to Elias. Her small hand never leaving his. She did not understand why so many hated her, but she felt the fear pressing against the walls wherever she walked. One evening, she overheard soldiers talking. She stood quietly in the shadows, her glowing eyes wide as the words cut through her heart. "They say command might lock her away," one soldier whispered. "Some want her studied. Others want her destroyed before her kind comes looking. Better safe than sorry," another muttered. "Ward's too attached, he can't see the danger." The girl's chest tightened. Her voice trembling, she whispered to herself, "I don't want to be a weapon, I only want a father." That night she cried, her tears glowing faintly against her pale skin. Elias found her curled on the floor of his quarters. Shaking, "They hate me," she whispered. "They want me gone." Elias knelt beside her, pulling her close, his voice rough but steady. "Listen to me."
"I won't let them hurt you, not while I breathe." Her arms wrapped tightly around his neck.
Her voice breaking. "Promise, Father, I promise," he said. And for the first time, he meant it with all his soul. But the danger only grew. Fleets on the outer rim reported strange sightings. Unknown signals that vanished when chased. Whispers said her people were watching, waiting, perhaps ready to strike if they learned she lived. In war rooms across Earth, generals argued. "We must prepare," one barked. "If they come, they will come for her." "She must be contained," another snapped. "Our people won't accept her. She divides us already." Yet there were others. Quieter voices who said, "What if she is hope? What if she is proof that peace is possible?" But fear is always louder than hope, and fear spread fast. The council sent orders to Elias, cold and final. "The child will be moved to a secure facility for study." Elias read the message in silence, his jaw tight, his hand shaking slightly before he crushed the datapad against the table. His heart thundered in his chest. Study was another word for prison, and prison was another word for breaking her spirit. That evening she sat by the viewport, staring at Earth below, her voice soft. "Father, are they going to take me away?" Elias sat beside her, his eyes fixed on the horizon. His silence said enough. She turned her glowing eyes to him, tears welling. "Please don't let them." "I can't lose you too." He turned to her, his voice low but unshakable. "I swore I wouldn't let them hurt you, and I will keep that oath, no matter what it costs me." Her lips trembled. Then she smiled faintly, leaning her small head against his arm. "Then I am not afraid," she whispered. But Elias was afraid, more than he had ever been in any battle. Because this war was not just between humans and aliens. It was between his oath as a soldier and his promise as a father. And as alarms echoed across the fleet that night, signals of unknown ships flickering near the edge of human space, Elias knew the storm was no longer coming. It was already here. The orders from the council were clear. The girl was to be moved. Studied, controlled, Elias Ward refused. But refusal only delayed the storm, not stopped it. He knew the truth had to come from her. If Earth was to understand, if even he was to truly understand one night. When the ship drifted in orbit above Earth, the girl sat awake, staring at the stars, her glowing eyes filled with a sadness far too heavy for her small frame. Elias found her there, knees pulled to her chest, silent tears on her pale cheeks. He sat beside her, not as a captain, not as a soldier, but as a man who had carried her through darkness. "Tell me," he said softly. "Tell me who you are." For a long moment she stayed silent, her hands trembling. Then she whispered, "You'll hate me." Elias shook his head. "I've fought enemies, I've seen monsters. You are neither, his voice steady. I want the truth, her lips quivered, then she began. Her voice fragile, yet strong enough to carry pain that had been buried too long. My people, they are not like me, she said. They are strong, cruel. They see mercy as weakness, compassion as disease. Her glowing eyes dimmed. When I was born, I was different. I cared, I cried, I loved. They called me broken. Elias felt his chest tighten, the pieces falling into place. They feared I would shame them, she continued. Her small hands clenched. So they left me alone, cast into the void, an exile, a mistake that did not deserve to live. Her voice cracked. They said I would die in the dark and no one would ever know I existed. Her words cut deeper than any blade. Elias closed his eyes, imagining her tiny body drifting through space, waiting for death, waiting for nothing, until his ship found her. Her tears shimmered as she looked at him. When you came, I thought maybe the stars had answered me. Maybe I was not cursed. Maybe I could belong. Her voice trembled. That's why I called you father, because I needed someone to see me. Not as a mistake, not as a weapon, but as a child. Elias's hand shook. He had faced enemies with fire in his eyes, but now he faced a truth that broke his soul. She was not a spy, not a trap. She was an abandoned child whose own people feared her kindness. He reached out, resting a hand on her trembling shoulder. You are not broken, he said firmly. You are not a mistake. His voice rough but filled with certainty. You are my daughter, whether the galaxy likes it or not. Her glowing eyes widened, then softened. Tears fell, but a faint smile broke through. The first smile of hope since her exile. But the danger of her origin was clear. If her people discovered she lived, they would come, and not with mercy. The next day, Elias gathered the crew, his voice low, steady. She is not a threat, she is not a weapon. She was abandoned by her kind because she is different, because she feels as we do, he said. If anyone dares call her dangerous, remember this. The only danger she brings is the fear in our own hearts. Some soldiers bowed their heads. Ashamed of their doubt, others still looked uneasy. But none could deny the truth in his voice, yet word spread. Whispers carried through channels faster than light. Rumors reached the ears of Earth's high command, and beyond reports arrived within weeks. Strange signals, alien code intercepted at the edge of human space, messages searching, probing. The name of her species whispered again. Feared again, Elias knew what it meant. Her people were looking. Perhaps they had always been looking. Perhaps her survival was a wound to their pride, a weakness exposed, and they would come to erase it. That evening, she stood before him, her voice trembling. They will come, won't they? Elias nodded slowly. His jaw tight. Yes, he said, but if they come, they will find me standing in their way. Her small hand gripped his tightly. They cast me aside, but you gave me a name, you gave me a place, even if they come, even if they hate me. I am not afraid. Elias looked at her, a strange fire burning in his chest. Not the fire of war, but the fire of something far stronger. The fire of a father protecting his child, and in that moment he knew. The secrets of her origin were no longer her curse. They were his burden too, and he would carry them into whatever storm waited beyond the stars. Because no soldier of Earth had ever turned away from battle, and no father of Earth would ever abandon his daughter. The truth about the girl spread faster than Elias Ward could control. She was no longer just a mystery found in the dark. She was a question hanging over all of Earth. A question with no easy answer. Was she hope or was she danger? In the streets of great cities, people shouted. Banners waved high. Some read, "She is proof we can change the galaxy," while others shouted, "She will bring war, send her away." Families fought in their homes. Leaders argued in their chambers, and soldiers whispered in their barracks. Never before had one child divided humanity so deeply. Elias saw it every time he walked with her through the spaceport. One person bowed in respect, whispering, "Bless her," while another spat words like poison. "Monster!" Crowds gathered outside bases. Some holding flowers, others holding stones. The air itself seemed ready to shatter. Inside the council, the arguments burned hotter than ever. One voice shouted, "If her people return, Earth will bleed again," another answered. "If we cast her away, we prove we are no better than those who abandoned her." Every word struck like thunder. No decision satisfied both fear and hope. Elias sat silent through those meetings, his fists clenched under the table. The girl sat in waiting rooms nearby, her small eyes wide each time guards passed. She understood more than they thought. She heard the words, she saw the fear, and it broke her heart. One night she asked him, her voice small but sharp with pain, "Why do they hate me if I have done nothing?" Elias swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Because people fear what they don't understand," he said. "They fear what might hurt them. Even if it has not." Her glowing eyes dimmed, she whispered. "Then I will always be alone." "No," Elias answered quickly, his hand tightening on hers. "Not while I live. Never alone." But even his oath could not stop what came next. The council issued an order, cold and merciless. The child will be relocated to a secure facility under constant supervision. Elias read it with a storm in his chest. Secure facility meant prison, meant taking her away, stripping her of the little trust she had built, the little hope she had carried. He crumpled the message in his fist, rage boiling under his calm surface. The next day, soldiers came, armored and armed. They stepped into his quarters. "Captain Ward, stand down." "The child must come with us." The girl clung to his arm, her small frame trembling. "Father," she whispered, "please don't let them." Elias stood like a wall between her and the soldiers, his voice sharp as steel. "You will not touch her." The soldiers hesitated, their eyes flickering. They knew Elias Ward, decorated, respected, a man who had led them through war. None wanted to raise a weapon against him. But orders were orders. "This is not your choice," the commander said, his voice low. "Step aside." Elias's hand moved to his weapon, slow, deliberate. "Try," he said, his voice calm but burning. Tension cracked in the air. One wrong move and blood would spill. Then a voice broke the silence, small but strong. The girl stepped out from behind him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "Please," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "Don't fight for me. I don't want people to die because of me." She looked at Elias, her tears falling. "I will go if it keeps you safe." Elias's heart tore apart. The thought of letting her go crushed him more than any wound. But seeing her sacrifice cut even deeper. He knelt before her, his hands on her shoulders. "Listen to me," he whispered, his voice breaking. "You are not theirs to take, you are mine. My daughter." Her eyes widened, the words filling her with light, but soldiers still waited, their rifles trembling in their hands. Elias rose, his voice thundering. "If you want her, you will have to break me first." The soldiers stepped back. Unsure, the commander clenched his jaw, then finally lowered his weapon. "This is not over," he spat, and the squad withdrew. That night Elias hid her in a cargo bay, far from scanners, far from eyes that would drag her away. She curled beside him, whispering, "I don't want to be a reason for war." Elias brushed her hair gently. "War will come whether you wish it or not," he said. "But if it comes, we will face it together." Beyond Earth, fleets stirred, signals echoed. Alien warships gathered like shadows on the horizon, and deep inside, Elias knew the divide among humans was nothing compared to the storm that would soon descend from the stars. But for now, as the girl slept against his arm, he made one vow to himself. Even if humanity broke in two, even if his own people turned against him, he would not abandon her, not today, not ever. Because a father's oath was stronger than fear, stronger than war, and stronger than the galaxy itself. The sky above Earth was no longer calm. Signals poured in from the outer rim, unknown warships crossing into human space, their shapes like black knives against the stars, their engines burning brighter than suns. Command towers blared alarms, fleets scrambled. Panic spread across stations. The words repeated over every channel. "They are here. The exiled child's people have come on the vanguard." Elias Ward stood at the viewport, the girl at his side, her glowing eyes wide with dread. She knew before anyone said it, she could feel them, the ones who had abandoned her, the ones who now returned. Not for mercy, but for silence, the fleet arrived in force. Hundreds of alien vessels forming a wall of steel and fire, their weapons locked, their signals booming into human comms. "Return the outcast," their voice thundered across space, cold and merciless. "She is not yours, she is not family. She is a mistake, surrender her or burn with her." The Council of Earth panicked, their chambers filled with shouts. "We cannot fight them. Our fleets are outnumbered," one cried. Another shouted, "Hand her over. Save billions of lives," yet a few whispered, "If we surrender a child, we surrender our soul." But the alien fleet gave no time for debate. They fired warning shots, planets shook under their power, stations fell dark. Their threat was not empty, it was a promise. The girl trembled, standing close to Elias, her voice soft. "They came for me," she whispered. "If I go, maybe they will leave. Maybe no one else has to die? Elias turned sharply, his voice fierce. No, he said. You are not theirs to take. You are my daughter. Her lips trembled, tears falling. But I don't want to see your people die because of me. Elias knelt before her, his hands gripping her shoulders, his voice rough but steady. Listen, you were abandoned once, left to die in the dark. If I give you up now, I become them. I become the monsters who cast you aside. I will not do that, not ever. Her tears spilled faster. She whispered, but Father, I'm afraid, so am I. Elias admitted, his eyes locked on hers. But being afraid does not mean giving up across Earth. Debates raged, protests turned violent. Some screamed, give her to them. Save us, others cried. Stand with her. Protect her. Humanity itself shook with division, as if the galaxy's demands split their very soul in half. In the council chamber, voices rose. Elias Ward defies us. He hides the child. He risks everything. But others said, he protects what is right, even if it costs us. Never had one soldier stood so tall against so many. Then the aliens sent one final message, their words colder than ice. You have one cycle to decide, surrender the mistake, or Earth will burn. The girl sat alone in Elias's quarters that night, the stars outside bright and distant. Her small voice whispered into the silence. I only wanted a father before I die. Her words broke even the steel walls around Elias's heart. He stood at the door listening, his fists tight, his chest heavy. He stepped inside, kneeling beside her. You are not going to die, he said. His voice fierce, not while I breathe. Not while Earth still stands. She looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with both fear and faith. Then stand with me, Father, she whispered. Even if the galaxy stands against us. Elias pulled her into his arms, her small frame shaking. Always, he said, his voice breaking but strong. Always. The next day, fleets gathered above Earth, human warships forming lines, engines burning, weapons ready, though they knew they were outnumbered. Still they stood, and at the front of it all, on the vanguard, Elias Ward stood tall, the alien child at his side. He sent his own signal into the void, not as a soldier following orders, but as a father speaking truth. She is not your mistake, he declared, his voice echoing across channels. She is not your weapon, she is not your prisoner. She is my daughter, and if you want her, you will have to go through me, through us, through all of humanity. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath, silence stretching across the stars. The alien fleet stirred, weapons glowing, the storm ready to fall. But in that silence, something else grew. The sound of humans cheering, soldiers standing taller, civilians shouting in unity, the cry spreading. She is ours, she is family, she is human. And as the child clutched Elias's hand, her tears falling but her eyes burning with light, she whispered, You called me your daughter. Elias looked down at her, his jaw firm, his heart fierce. And I will never take it back. The war was about to begin. But for the first time, the child did not feel alone. She had a father, and behind him she had a world. The stars burned with fire. Human fleets and alien warships faced each other in a silence heavier than war itself. One wrong word, one wrong move, and the galaxy would drown in blood. Elias Ward stood at the front of the vanguard, the child at his side, her glowing eyes fixed on the darkness where her people waited, her small hand trembling in his, but her grip steady with trust. The alien voice boomed again across every channel, cold and sharp. Return the outcast, she belongs to us. She belongs nowhere else, surrender her, or Earth will burn. Elias looked down at her, her lips trembling. Her eyes filled with tears she tried to hold back. She whispered, Maybe I should go, maybe I should end this, Father. I don't want your people to die. Elias shook his head slowly, his jaw tight. No, he said firmly. You are not theirs to take, you are not their mistake. You are my daughter. The words hung heavy, carried by his voice into the silence of the bridge. The crew stared at him, some with fear, some with awe, but none doubted the fire in his eyes. He opened a channel, his voice echoing across space, reaching both humans and aliens. Listen to me, Elias began, his voice steady, each word sharp as steel. You speak of her as if she is a weapon, as if she is a curse, but I tell you this, she is a child, she is my child. And I will not give her to you. The alien fleet stirred, their engines roaring, their weapons glowing like suns ready to burn. But Elias did not stop. His voice rose, stronger, louder. If you want her, you will have to go through me, through my crew, through every human who still remembers what family means. The humans on every ship listened, his words striking like thunder in their hearts. Fear turned into fire. Soldiers lifted their heads. Civilians across Earth shouted, their voices joining into one. She is ours, she is family. She is human, the alien commander answered, his voice cold. You dare defy us, one soldier against an empire, one world against our fleets. You cannot win, Elias stared into the void, his jaw firm, his voice calm but unshakable. Maybe not, he said, but know this. We are not fighting for power. We are not fighting for territory. We are fighting for her, for a child you cast aside. And there is no force in this galaxy stronger than a parent defending their child. Silence followed. The kind of silence that weighs more than war. The alien fleet hesitated, their weapons still glowing. But their pride cracked under the truth. To see humans stand not for greed, not for conquest, but for one small child, it was something their cold hearts could not understand. The girl looked up at Elias, tears falling. Her voice a whisper only for him. You said it. You called me your daughter. Elias knelt beside her, pulling her close, his hand resting gently on her silver hair. I should have said it long ago, he whispered, his voice breaking. You are my daughter. And nothing will ever change that, she cried against his chest. Not with fear, but with relief. The words she had waited for since the day she was abandoned. The words that gave her life meaning. The alien fleet flickered with confusion. Messages raced through their ranks. Some ships breaking formation, others hesitating. The weakness of their own hearts exposed. They had no answer for love, no weapon against it. Finally, the alien voice spoke again, but softer, strained. This changes nothing, it said. Though the power in it had faded, we will remember this defiance. Their ships turned, one by one, fading into the dark, the storm retreating, leaving silence behind. The humans did not cheer at first. They only stood in stunned silence. Then the cry rose, voices shouting across channels, across planets, across the stars. We stood, we held, we did not bow. And within those cries, one truth burned brighter than all. Elias Ward had not just defended a child. He had reminded humanity of what it meant to be human, to stand for something greater than fear. That night, as the fleet returned to Earth, the girl sat beside Elias at the viewport, her small hand in his, her glowing eyes filled with peace for the first time in her life. Father, she whispered softly. Thank you. Elias smiled faintly, tired but unbroken. No, daughter, he answered. Thank you for reminding me what it means to fight not as a soldier, but as a father. And as the stars drifted quietly outside, one soldier and one child sat together, no longer alone, no longer divided, a father and his daughter, bound not by blood but by choice. A bond strong enough to shake the galaxy. From that day, the galaxy remembered. Humanity could be feared for its weapons. Humanity could be hated for its strength. But what truly made them unstoppable was something far simpler, something far greater. The unbreakable love between a parent and a child.